Welcome to another hashtag Football Friday on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I'm Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, that's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
And we're back on Facebook, folks. You follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
Remember, Second City Sports airs live every Monday and every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on Sports Zone Chicago. Once again, noon to 2 p.m. every Monday, every Friday, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Make sure you download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. That's the Apple iTunes Store or the Google Play Store. Make sure the app says Sports Zone Chicago. You can catch live airings of our 6 other live shows, including this one. If you missed any of our shows, you could go to that app and catch any of our past shows as well. Once again, download that Sports Zone Chicago app. You can listen to follow Sports Zone Chicago rather on all social media platforms, such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just make sure you search for Sports Zone Chicago. Once again, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Sports Zone Chicago. If you want to listen to the audio version of this podcast, you can do so by simply typing in that search engine box. We are available on all podcast platforms. That's WAR on Anchor. That's WARR on Anchor. Make sure you type that in your search engine box on all podcast platforms. And make sure you follow WAR Media on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at WARR Media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
And we are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. Before we get started on our hashtag Football Friday, Lakeena, we're a little bit less, technically now, under an hour away from Game 2 of the American League Division Series between the Chicago White Sox and the Houston Astros. The Astros defeated the White Sox in Game 1 yesterday by the score of 6-1. The Astros lead the best-of-5 series 1-0. Today's pitching matchup is featuring Lucas Giolito for the White Sox versus Framber Valdez for the Houston Astros, the left-hander. And joining us right now to preview that Game 2 that's taking place less than an hour from now from Minute Maid Park in Houston. She's a writer for the SI Now crew for Southside Sox. Say that 5 times fast. And she's the co-host. And she's the co-host of the Estrogen Hour podcast, which features another good friend of the show, Miss Janice Scurriel. Her name is Miss Crystal O'Keefe. Crystal, welcome to the program. How are you?
Thank you. I am great. How are you two?
We're doing great.
A little bummed. A little bummed after the Game 1.
I get that.
How can people follow you on social media, Miss O'Keefe?
Yeah, you can follow me. It's at Crystal_OK, and that's CHRYSTAL. A lot of people miss that H, but yeah, that's where I reside.
Nice.
Before we preview Game 2 between the Astros and White Sox, which is less than an hour away from first pitch, let's review yesterday's game. The 6-1 loss for the White Sox. Lance McCullers, he was outstanding for the Astros with 4 strikeouts. On the other side, Lance Lynn, not so high. 3 2/3 innings, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks. Both those walks came back to buy him in the you-know-what. Both those runners came to score. Crystal, I tweeted this out yesterday. I'm trying not to be that pessimistic meatball White Sox fan, but I tweeted this out yesterday. And unfortunately, this pattern we've seen many more times throughout the year than people want to give it credit for. Lance Lynn, even though I did agree with Tony La Russa starting him yesterday, but this problem, and I tweeted it out yesterday, he falls behind hitters way too much for my personal liking. It's just me, but he falls behind 2-0, 3-0, 2-1. It annoys the hell out of me. Why don't you explain Lance Lynn's performance yesterday? I'm trying not to lose it.
No, I get it. I think I really think Tony just knew they were going to get shelled yesterday, and so I think Lance was just the lamb out to slaughter for the White Sox. Mm-hmm. I love Lance. I think he's a great pitcher. He's been phenomenal this whole season, but I think he knew that Lance performs very poorly with the Astros, always has, always will. So you know what? Get those Game 1 jitters out, put Lucas in today, and win the game. So, it was a bummer, and I haven't seen Lance pitch that poorly in such a long time. And I've followed him since we were in high school. We actually graduated the same year, and we're both from Indianapolis.
Oh, congrats.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that was kind of a funny coincidence. But as much as I want to just say horrible things about Tony La Russa, and I still kind of do, I think it was just one of those lamb for slaughter situations yesterday, which, I mean, why not put like Raylo out there if that was going to be the case? But at the same time, McCullers Jr. is just phenomenal. I was hoping that we were going to see some walks yesterday since he, leads in walks.
Yeah.
But there was, I mean, you can't completely blame Lance. There was also no offense. No one could hit off of him. You could barely hit off the bullpen once he was relieved. So I can't be too mad at the situation. And it's a 5-game series. I have to continue to remind myself that, you know what, maybe they'll come back. Maybe it'll be White Sox in 4.
Well, do you think there's something wrong with Tim Anderson? I mean, he did not look good trying to run yesterday, and I think that kind of still kind of worries me. I mean, they say it was tired lazy. He had that long stint in the IL, but then you look at him, you think, okay, there might be some wear and tear there. So, do you think there's something like really wrong with Tim Anderson's legs or knees or ankles?
I almost think they all got rested a little too long, and that kind of wore them kind of destroyed the momentum they had going into it, because I know he's excited, but I get why they were rested, but at the same time, maybe it was a little too much, and maybe now they're just still kind of tired and still a little out of shape because they're used to going so much. But I don't think that injury helped, and I think most of them still have something lingering from all of the injuries this year.
Crystal O'Keefe, part of the SI Now crew. She covers the White Sox for Southside Sox, has joined us here on Second City Sports on live in living color on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid and Lakeena here with you. If you have a question for Crystal, make sure you type in our comment section. You can go to Sports Zone Chicago on Facebook or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your question in the comment section. Lakeena will get the question up to you while we have Crystal on. Crystal, I want to ask you about the White Sox office. You brought him up just a second ago. I thought their approach to McCullers yesterday was good the first time around the lineup, taking pictures to see what Lance could offer, because as you mentioned, he walks a lot of guys, but that wasn't happening yesterday. And I said this, one of my last tweets yesterday, that the White Sox, even though they did hit 178 home runs for the regular season, me and Lakeena talked about this, especially during playoffs. You cannot depend on the home run. You got to be aggressive, play hit and run, steal bases. What did you think about the approach to Mr. McCullers yesterday from the White Sox office perspective?
Man, he was just too good. I mean, he wasn't going to give up anything. And they also couldn't capitalize on it, which was so frustrating to watch, because it was that breaking ball that he was throwing. I mean, it was just out of this world. I haven't seen anything like that. So, and that pitching destroys and dismantles the White Sox too. And it's so hard to even hit in that park, I think.
Yeah.
So man, I wish he was on the South Side, honestly. He was too good at completely shutting everyone down. And if Yohan Moncada is the only one that can even get a hit, it feels like, during that game, then I worry about our offense going forward.
Yeah, I mean that Minute Maid Park is very the way it's sort of set up is it's kind of, I don't want to say it's unhittable, it's hard for pitchers. That's why the Astros been able to master it. But let's talk a little bit about game 2. I mean, like you said, it'll be Giolito versus Valdez. Where do you see this? Can the Sox bounce back, or because Valdez has been pretty good for the Astros this year? So what do you think of your comments for game 2?
Yeah, he has been great, but I think that Lucas is kind of in that ready to kill mode that they talk about with him. I think he's going to be great today. And honestly, I think the White Sox should just be angry and embarrassed with their poor performance yesterday and come back and completely bounce back. I think they can. I think they've seen how it's played there. They've seen enough of Valdez, I think, this year to be able to locate those pitches and just step up. I worry about what's going on with Abreu. I think he's still sick, and you could tell he was a little sluggish yesterday. And for some reason, they put Andrew Vaughn in today, which, okay, not my choice, but that's fine. But But I think they'll be able to bounce back. I think they are humiliated, and I think they're going to be angry enough to kind of give them hell today.
Yeah, speaking of the lineup yesterday, Crystal, I agreed with the lineup, but the placing of a couple of players yesterday I didn't agree with. Usually Luis Robert, who got hit in the hand early in the ball game, thank goodness as far as we know is okay. But Luis Robert was batting fifth or sixth yesterday. Manika had a hit yesterday, and he was okay. But I see that Robert's back at the number 2 hole today. What did you think about the lineup order yesterday?
I thought that was a phenomenal lineup yesterday. And everyone kind of, I mean, if that was the lineup going forward, I would be happy with it. Even with Gavin Sheets there, I thought that was executed perfectly because it does kind of show their strengths, especially when you put like Yasmani in a position where he can clean up. But yeah, I mean, I would have no issue with that lineup, but the bats were just not awake yesterday to prove how good that one can be.
Now, when the Sox released their playoff roster, Keiko wasn't on it. Now, were you surprised by that, or do you think that maybe it could be that maybe he might be they might bring him in as an emergency guy in case someone gets hurt or someone's not very productive because he has playoff experience and he won the World Series with the Astros. So I'm a little surprised that he was left out. But again, what do I know?
It was a happy surprise for me. That sounds terrible, but man, it was like Tony was listening. And, it is what it is. He has been awful. I really think there's some lingering issues with his back, and there might be some mental block somewhere. Because, he was one that I was so excited for to come to the South Side, and he just imploded this year, and he has not been the same. So I'm kind of relieved. He did make the taxi squad, so maybe he'll come in, but I can't see that happening, especially if Rodon is healthy enough to pitch. And even if he is, that might be a 3-inning Kopech game too with Rodon. But yeah, I was kind of relieved. I think people are being listened to, and Tony is realizing, hey, you know what? I'm going to sit him until he figures it out. Maybe this will help him in the long run.
Crystal O'Keefe from Southside Sox Power, the SI Now crew, is joining us here on Second City Sports live and in living color here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid and Lakeena here with you. Crystal, let's focus in on Yasmani Grandal. 0 for 4 yesterday, no walks. Of course, Valdez, the left-hander for the Astros, is going today. And Yasmani is a switch hitter. I assume that this is a good omen for Mr. Grandal to bust out today, correct? No walks yesterday. Credit to Lance McCullers and Dusty Baker yesterday for approaching Grandal. I don't know, the numbers don't look great as far as batting average, but this guy draws a lot of walks, and I thought that was the key, one of the underlying keys to yesterday's victory for the Astros, not getting Grandal on base.
Yeah, definitely. He has been a threat, especially since he came back. So I was a little shocked that he couldn't even draw a walk. Normally he sees his pitches really well. But yeah, I don't know what happened with him yesterday. I was pretty disappointed. But I think he still got it. And I think he is going to have a much better game today. He was my pick to click yesterday. I was got a little egg on my face from that still. But yeah. I don't know what was up. I think McCullers Jr. was just too good yesterday, and I fear if it goes to Game 5, we're going to have to face him again, and that might just be our elimination.
Yeah. As long as we don't see Lance Lynn in Houston, I think Sox fans can breathe.
Maybe so. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Let's talk about. I know we're going a little further ahead since Game 2 is going to be going on like less than an hour from now. Game 3, although La Russa has not said who's going to start, it could be Cease, it could be Lopez. Do you think it's going to depend on if the White Sox win today? If they go up 2-0, or if they end up tying the series? You think it's going to change how he approaches Game 3?
I don't know that it's going to matter that much. I think Cease is going to have it in the bag. He's been great this year. He's actually been consistent. His command is there. And I think the Lopez possibly / Kopech is going to be a home thing where they feel more confident anyway. But I don't know. I have a good feeling it's going to be Dylan. He's he's earned it. I think it'll be nice for him to be home and starting. Yeah, he's good. I think it'll be Dylan. And I don't think it's going to matter much if they win or lose because Dylan has that confidence again. Like, he finally has that confidence this year.
Don't forget, you could catch Game 2 of the White Sox Astros series at 1:07 p.m. Central Standard Time today on MLB Network. Bob Costas, Jim Cott, and Buck Showalter and Tom Verducci will have the call for you there for the national broadcast. Crystal, let's have some fun with you for a few minutes. For those of you listening exclusively on our podcast, I must say, nice picture of the late great Prince, aka the purple one back there. Where did you get that picture from?
It's the record.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That late great Judy Garland too.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, you do a great job covering the White Sox with Southside Sox. And I mentioned at the top of the show that you co-host the Estrogen Hour podcast. And one of your co-hosts includes our good friend, Miss Janice Scurio, now with NBC Sports Edge. How did that podcast get started? Because you guys have a lot of fun.
We do. It kind of, I don't want to say it started as a joke because I think we were all pretty serious in that moment, but we were just kind of tired of the whole white guys covering baseball stick and just the horrible comments and replies and DMs that we get. Women just don't get any respect when it comes to sports. We just don't. Mm-hmm. And, you know, three of us might be white women, but at the same time, you don't get a lot of women anywhere. It doesn't matter your race, your gender identity. There's no respect unless you are a middle-aged white man in baseball. And we were just kind of sick of it. And we were looking around, and there are a handful of like female-led baseball podcasts. New York Mets has a great one called A Pod of Their Own. And we were like, I think it's our turn to do something, because as much as we love our managing editor, Brett, at the same time, we need more women in baseball. So we were just like, you know what, we should start this up. And we didn't even tell our managing editor about it. We just kind of did this like pirate radio podcast, and we were going through names for it. And Janice actually said, let's just say Estrogen Power Hour. And we all kind of laughed. And then we thought about it some more, and we're like, no, actually, that's pretty good. We like that. So we just started it up, and we're not afraid to talk about like the heavy stuff for the sports organizations that treat women and people of color poorly. And we're not afraid to talk about issues with women in sports. We're not afraid to tackle racism. We're not afraid to tackle any of that stuff. We just want to be very open, very transparent, and say, hey, we're here too. We're not going anywhere. This sport is also for us.
Yeah, before I kick it to Lakeena, I'm glad you guys have started up, because you're tackling issues whether people agree with your personal views or not. As I said before, Lakeena can back me up on this. During this era of social media and media, sports media in general, media overall, but sports media in general, people want and need options the traditional way, traditional way of getting information. Those days are long gone. It's not just one or two outlets anymore. So people just listen exclusively to podcasts like ours and yours, and don't touch terrestrial radio anymore. No disrespect to locally 670 Score or ESPN 1000, but you can listen to a couple of shows there if you like, or don't listen to them at all. Just people get their information faster, and they want to hear what they want to hear. Now, me personally, I like to hear different points of view, whether I agree with them or not. But sometimes you don't get that on terrestrial radio. And P.S., bring Lakeena on to your show. She'll shake things up. I promise you.
Definitely.
I won't be sure. I don't know about. I'm not that provocative. I promise. You don't have
to be. It's fine.
All right. Well, Crystal, what's your favorite White Sox memory? I mean, yeah, I'm sure. I don't want to age you or anything, but what's like your?
She's 26.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Favorite game, favorite moment, favorite player, whatever.
Yeah. Well, right now, Yasmani Grandal is my favorite player. I love him with all of my heart. But I would have to say, and unfortunately, the White Sox did not win. But on my wedding night, instead of having a reception, my husband and I opted to go to a Sox-Cubs game at guaranteed rate. And we got phenomenal seats. We were like 3 rows up. I was still in my wedding dress. And we just had a blast. I was like, this is so much better than a reception, because this is actually something I enjoy. We're not subjecting people to these like old traditions, but we're just here, we're watching a baseball game, we're still in our wedding clothes, and this is like my baseball upbringing right here. And I was happy to share my wedding night with the White Sox, even though they lost that series. And I had to watch Javier Baez like hoisting that stupid cup in my face, but it was fine. It was a lot of fun.
Crystal O'Keefe from Southside Sox is joining us for the last minute or two right here on Second City Sports, live in a living color along with Lakeena McGee. I'm Cindy Brown. Crystal, assuming that the White Sox get by the Astros in this series, who do you want the White Sox to face? Despite what the Tampa Bay Rays did to the Red Sox last night, who would you, as a Sox fan, do not want to face in the ALCS, assuming that the White Sox get by the Astros in this series?
I do not want to face the Rays at all.
I agree with you.
Scary. They are I would much rather take on the Red Sox because they are not the threat that I feel like they are. Also, we could possibly see Chris Sale, which would be fun too. But no, the Rays are terrifying. I don't want to face them at all. I feel okay with all of the other teams currently playing, but man, those Rays are tough.
Yeah, they definitely showed yesterday. But Armando Laura Jr., shout out to Armando. Thank you for listening as always. He's one of our top listeners and viewers, I should say. He says his mom was one of the most knowledgeable baseball fans. She knew her baseball. So, to your credit, that there needs to be more representation covering not just baseball, but for all sports as well. So, okay, of course, I'm sure you're going to pick the White Sox to win. How many games? Will it be 4? Will it be 5?
I think it's going to come down to 5. I really do. These Astros are tough. They know what they're doing, so I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to 5. But I will pick the White Sox. I have confidence.
All right, that was Crystal O'Keefe. She covers the White Sox with Southside Sox. You can go to their website, southsidesox.com, and catch her on the Estrogen Hour podcast. You make sure you download that podcast wherever you download your podcast. It features one of our good friends, Miss Janice Scurio, and hopefully it will feature Miss Lakeena McGee as a guest very soon. Although I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your show, but I'm advocating for my friend. So I'm advocating for my good friend and co-host here. And where can people follow you on social media one more time?
It's at Crystal_OK. And please add an H behind the C. People mistake that. So Crystal OK.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss O'Keefe, for joining us today. Go White Sox. Hopefully it's a different and better outcome today than yesterday. Thank you so much for joining us. We will support you any way we can. And hopefully the White Sox will do better today than yesterday. Much continued success with you, and we'll definitely have you back on this program in the near future, okay?
Thanks, Chris. Thank you, Crystal. Thank you, Crystal. Stay safe.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
All right. Once again, that's Miss Crystal O'Keefe from Southside Sox and from the Estrogen Hour podcast. Make sure you support her and follow her on all social media platforms, as you just mentioned. Lakeena, it's getting too hot in here, but we're getting ready to take a 2-2. Let's cool off, take this 20-second timeout, and let's come back and discuss the other playoff series as well. That's kicking off today from the National League and around the Major League Baseball playoffs. And we'll get to our Football Power Hour. It's our hashtag for Football Friday at the top of next hour. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid and Lakeena here with you. Stay right there.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. In Sunday's Major League Baseball action, the Cubs got pounded 9-1 at home against Kansas City. The White Sox shut out on the road 9-0 at Tampa. NFL preseason on Saturday, the Bills hammered the Bears 41-15. Andy Dalton, 11 of 17 passing, 146 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Justin Fields, 9 of 19 for 80 yards. Head coach Matt Nagy says Dalton remains the Week 1 starter and that Fields is ahead of schedule.
When you look at a guy like Justin and you see the things that he's doing, are there some things that he can get better at? Yeah, for sure. That's going to be, we're going to say that 3 years from now. But at the same point in time, for him, there's also things that he's doing better probably than we thought coming into this, which is good too. Like, that's what we want. We want that to happen.
Download the free Score app. Lightning fast updates so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Blue Star medicated ointment works fast to relieve the pain and itch of almost any skin irritation. amazing. It's like as soon as you put it on, you can feel it working.
We've had Blue Star in the family for years. It works on everything.
I love the cooling sensation on my athlete's foot.
What a relief for my eczema.
Nothing worked on my dry, cracked skin until I tried Blue Star.
Blue Star is great for scalp itch.
Look for the white box with the Blue Star in the first aid section. Feel Blue Star work fast or your money back.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
Welcome back to Second City Sports Live and in living color right here on the hashtag Football Friday on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid and Lakeena here with you. Lakeena, I want to get your thoughts on what happened to the White Sox yesterday and the loss to the Astros in Game 1 by the score of 6-1. Was it what you expected, or you thought they should have did some things differently? Do you think that Lance Lynn should have started today instead of yesterday? What are your quick thoughts?
Just gonna make it quick because we got other series I want to get to. And look, McCullers, I mean, I know he's kind of been up and down, but he's actually, there's a reason why he's actually one of the top AL pitchers. So, they just couldn't hit. And I think Lynn just had a bad day. I think, look, unfortunately, you picked the wrong time to have a bad day. So that was probably his worst outing of the season. Just couldn't get it going. And look, if you look at the top, the stats, the Astros are like in the top 10 in each of the batting categories in some way. So whether it's runs or RBIs. So it's not surprising. So let's hope that Giolito can kind of combat that, and they can win Game 2. But Valdez has actually been pretty solid as well. So I just let's just hopefully this is just one of those things where they can bounce back in Game 2. But again, who knows? I still say I think something's wrong with Tim Anderson. I don't think they're telling really what's going on. But look, Moncada did what he could, but he just really couldn't get it going, and they just couldn't get the bats going. Let's hope that they can bounce back. I mean, Alvarez and Brantley. I mean, look, Sox already know the kind of person Brantley is. So it'll be interesting. But let's see. Let's hope it's they can kind of bounce back in Game 2 today.
Yeah, we're more than a half hour away from Game 2, as you mentioned, Lakeena, from Houston. You can watch that game on MLB Network. That's at 1:07 p.m. Central Standard Time today on MLB Network. Bob Costas, Jim Cott, Buck Showalter, and Tom Verducci will be on the call for that one. Running down the starting lineups for the White Sox today. We didn't, Crystal, our guest from the last segment, mentioned it a little bit. Here's how they stack up against Valdez, the left-hander from the Astros. Tim Anderson at shortstop will lead off. Luis Robert is back at the 2-hole playing center field. Playing designated hitter Jose Abreu batting third. Batting cleanup is catcher Yasmani Grandal. Batting fifth, playing left field, Eloy Jimenez. Batting sixth, third base, Yohan Moncada. Playing first base, Andrew Vaughn, the rookie. This is his first playoff game today. And batting seventh, not Larry, Legend Garcia. Batting eighth, Adam Engel playing right field. Batting ninth, rather, Adam Engel playing right field. And of course, your starting pitcher is Lucas Giolito. Lakeena, we know that the White Sox has had a stellar record over the last 2 or 3 seasons, including this year against left-handed pitchers. I expect the White Sox to be more aggressive today and not play timid, really forcing the issue. And I expect Giolito not to pitch lights out, although they'll be nice, but I think he'll pitch somewhere in between. We need good Lucas Giolito today. And if he doesn't have it, I expect Tony La Russa to give him the quick hook, maybe a little bit quicker than he should have yesterday, according to some people, when he finally pulled Lance Lynn when the game got away at 5-0.
Yeah, let's hope they can jump on Valdez right away. I think that's going to be the key, and I hope they can. I mean, they kind of switched around. He put Robert in a 2-hole, which I think could help. He didn't have a very good showing yesterday. Mm-hmm. And then look, let's hope so. I mean, let's hope Vaughn can step it up, and Moncada's a switch hitter, so let's hope that he can kind of play around with Valdez. look, like I said before, I think the key for me is if they can go to a quick start. Get a quick start and throw Valdez off his game, and then the White Sox can sort of take control of game 2. But if not, if we saw what happened yesterday happen today, it's going to be a short series for the White Sox, and they might be saying bye-bye. So let's hope that the reverse happens.
Yes, my prediction is the White Sox will win a close one, but they will win game 2 today. Now, Lakeena, before we get to the series that took place last night between Tampa and Boston, and preview the two National League series that are starting tonight, I want to get your thoughts on the wild card games. Of course, Tuesday night we saw Boston get by the Yankees 6-2, and then of course Wednesday in the classic fashion, Chris Taylor CT3, as our good friend Nick Hamilton from Los Angeles calls him, the Dodgers get by the Cardinals by the score of 2-1 in the last at bat. Lakeena, what were your thoughts on the wild card games? It looks like the Yankees and Boston had a high rating for that game for ESPN, but TBS had their highest rating for a wild card game ever with that dramatic win by the Dodgers the other night over St. Louis.
Well, the Red Sox got to Garrett Cole right away. I think, Cubs fans know this. Cubs fans know because they jumped on him a few years ago.
Yes.
And so that I think people, they know that he has not done well when it comes to the wild card games. And, unfortunately, that history continued for the Yankees. Stan had some hits that were very close. Judge had a couple of hits that were very close to going out the park. I mean, if those hits had gone out the park, would have been a different story. But, it is what it is. As for the Cardinals Dodgers series, I mean, that walk off by Chris Taylor is only like the 5th walk off home run in MLB history in a winner take all postseason game, if you can believe that. So just a classic start. It was sort of like it was Scherzer, Wainwright. Then Wainwright got the early lead, but then Scherzer was able to get it back, and it was just a classic sort of seesaw battle, which you expect from a 1-game series. And now the Dodgers will be facing the Giants. It'll be the first time that these two will play in the postseason, if you can believe that. And it's crazy. Also, too, it's the first time in MLB history that two teams will meet after winning. Both teams won at least 105 games. So that should be this could go 5, I think, because they kind of mirror each other. I think the Dodgers they just edged out the Giants by like a couple of games in their weekend in their league series. So these two know each other well. So we'll see. I mean, this should be a fun series. Like I said, this could be one of those series. I'm thinking it could probably end up going the distance.
As a baseball fan, I hope that series goes to 5 because, as we talked about all season, Lakeena, the Giants are the biggest surprise in baseball. None of us saw this coming. They're a very good team. Of course, they picked up former Cub slugger Chris Bryant at the trade deadline. He's only helped them out that much more. I want to see how he does in his San Francisco Giants playoff debut. On the other side for the Dodgers, Max Scherzer, he didn't have his greatest stuff. He kept the Dodgers in that wild card game, bare-chested and all after the game. But you won't see him until probably at least game 4 or game 5, probably game 4 at the earliest if it goes that far, which I expect it to. But the Dodgers, let's see what Walker Buehler does with the rest of their pitchers. So whoever starts for the Dodgers, let's see what they do. And I want to see how Mookie Betts performs. We talked about it last year. Lakeena, he was the difference, I believe, in the way the Dodgers won last year in the bubble. And so I want to see how he does. On the flip side for the Giants, let's see if they can play solid defense and get timely hitting. That's how they've been winning the majority of their games all year. They're a very good team. And yes, no one expected them, including us, them to win that many games, but they're here for a reason. I expect the Dodgers just give them a battle. Their division rival, so there's a lot of history there. So I expect this it will go 5 games. And I'm picking San Francisco.
I think Los Angeles will win this in 5. I think because the experience, you got Walker Buehler and Logan Webb will be going for game 1 for the Giants. Let's see if the Braves get set up. Brandon Belt and Brandon Crawford. I mean, I think Crawford.
He's still there.
Yeah, I know, right?
Crawford.
But look, I think he leads the team in batting average. So, and let's hope that maybe they can get the hitting. If they can kind of get it going. These might be some long games. Forget it going like 5, but these could be some like 3 or 4 hour games. Which work for not for us East Coast people, but the West Coast would love that. But also too on the plus side for the Dodgers, I mean Max Muncy, who I have to think is getting some consideration for NL MVP honors. Let's see if Justin Turner can get up there as well. Well, and also too, like you said, Mookie Betts. Look, we're gonna see if the Giants are for real. I think yes, they won the division, they got in the playoffs, they're hosting their series. They have home field, but does that really mean anything in the MLB playoffs? I mean, sometimes it doesn't. So we'll see how these old rivals, like, they keep it friendly though, so no one's there's no animosity or anything like that. So there won't be any like brawls, nothing like that. And there's nothing represented between Dave Roberts and Gabe Kepler. So let's see how. No, it's really not. But yeah, let's see how it goes. There might be some trash talking here and there, but this should be a fun series.
Yeah, that Max Muncy injury for the Dodgers could cost them, but we'll see what happens with that. Keep your eye on this player. He got a hit in that wild card game. He's been struggling all year, but Cody Bellinger. Let's see if he can come up with some big hits. If he does, the Dodgers can pull off this upset series win. So keep your eye on Cody Bellinger.
It really wouldn't be an upset, but okay, that's just me. But let's talk about the other NL series. You got Atlanta and Milwaukee. You know, Atlanta. Look, they won the NL East. Some people would say by default, but you gotta give them credit. You gotta give them credit after the Acuna injury. I don't think none of us thought that they would actually go on a roll, but then they did. It'll be Charlie Morton against Corbin Burns. You know, in game one in that series. What do you think? Avi Garcia is doing some big things for Milwaukee, and also Austin Riley as well. Going to be a matchup between those two hitters. And look, I'm going to pick the Brewers in 4 only because I know the Braves are. I think they want to get that taste out of their mouths. What happened last year? They were right there with the Dodgers. You know, they let that series slip away. But I just think that the Brewers are. I kind of feel like, you know, they're kind of more relaxed now, and I think the Brewers will win this in 4, but again, don't take my picks at face value.
I'm going with the Brewers in 5. I think I told you this, Lakeena, last week or on our last show on Monday that I expected this series to go 5 games because Atlanta, they do have a chip on their shoulder, as you mentioned, from a year ago, blowing that 3-1 lead in the bubble to the Dodgers in the NLCS. I think they'll surprise the people and maybe win a game or two. That it's not going to be a sweep. So I think Atlanta can force the issue to scrap out 2 games and force it to a 5-game series. On the flip side for Milwaukee, as I said all season long, the Milwaukee Brewers are the NL's version of the Chicago White Sox. They don't have the big names like the White Sox do in terms of the lineup, but Christian Yelich is still there. You still have Freddie Peralta in the starting rotation. Of course, we talked about Brandon Woodruff. He struggled down the stretch pitcher-wise after having a hot start to the season, but he's still one of the top pitchers in the National League. And plus, they have a great bullpen led by Josh Hader, their closer. So it's going to come down to the bullpens for both these teams. I believe Milwaukee. I give Milwaukee the edge right there. In the starting pitching, Atlanta still has Charlie Morton. You still have Max Fried. Both those guys have experience, but I think Milwaukee has it just a little bit more to get by. I think the Braves will give them some trouble, but Milwaukee should win this series. I'm picking Milwaukee at 5. It'll probably be in 4, like you said, but I'm going 5.
Yeah, I think that's why I think I picked them in 4 is because of their bullpen. The Brewers, they've been pretty much unhittable. Although they're without one of their guys. I forgot Devin Williams. I think that's his name. You know, breaking. I guess he fractured his arm. I think celebrating their NL Central. Yeah. So that might be that might make it take a hit in that bullpen, but again, we'll see. But it should be a fun series. Now, one series, the other AL series, or we were so consumed with Sox and Astros, but there was one series, the other series in the AL, the ALDS, started last night. The Rays just, I don't want to say hammered the Red Sox, but I think there was a reason when we said on Monday that there's a reason why that the Rays would have preferred to face the Red Sox because they actually have had the Red Sox's number. And there was actually if you saw, yes, I know some of you probably were watching Thursday Night Football game, which we will recap, but Randy Arozarena actually became the first player in MLB posted history to hit a home run and steal a home in the same game. So he led the Rays, and now they take a 1-0 lead. So where do you see that series?
I think I had the Tampa Bay in 4. I don't know if I picked it on Friday or not, but I have Tampa Bay in 4. The Red Sox will squeak out a win when they go back home next week. But as we said before all year, Lakeena, give Tampa Bay credit in terms of their starting staff and their bullpen. As Crystal O'Keefe, our guest from the last segment, mentioned, if you're the White Sox, assuming that you get past Houston in this series, I don't want to face Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's bullpen is very good, just like the White Sox. I don't know the White Sox have the names, but Tampa, they have some horses in there too. And you saw that last night. They didn't have to be used as much. And I think for the Red Sox, I'm not going to give them too much of an excuse. It may sound like it what I'm about to say, but facing the Yankees in a one-game playoff at home, it takes a lot out of you, and so you only have 1 day in between games, and so I can understand it from that standpoint. But the Red Sox should be ready. I believe Chris Sale will start tomorrow. So in game 2, I believe the game 2 is tomorrow. So
no, it's tonight.
Tonight, okay. So Chris Sale, who thank goodness wasn't used on Tuesday, he should be ready to go tonight. And I expect the Red Sox to play better. Whether they win or not, yeah, it's still up in the air. But I expect them to play much better tonight. You got that lag out of your system. No more excuses. I expect a better performance from the road team tonight.
It'll be Sale and Shane Baz for the Rays, and that's a 3:30. That's actually going to be right. That's the first night game at 6:02. That's the first pitch tonight. And look, I think for me, the Rays, they're showing you why they won the division, and that last year wasn't a fluke. And look, I know they have, the White Sox have Devers, but he needs help. Bogarts, hit that big home run in the wild card, but he needs to step up more. Like I said, that on the Rays side, they have Rosaria, I can't say that guy's name. I don't know. Sorry about that, Randy. But they have Brandon Lowe and Austin Meadows, so they have a good, solid lineup. I mean, there aren't a lot of big names, but you know what? They've been consistent. So, and I think that's going to be the key to them. Win the series. I think I'm not going to say I think they will sneak in there. I think the Red Sox will and win one. But I still say, it's going to be very interesting with our buddy Armando. I think losing a game makes a good team play better the next game. And you probably might be right about that. So, we'll see if that's the case for the White Sox and also to the Red Sox as well.
We're about less than 20 minutes or so from first pitch between the White Sox and Astros game 2 from Houston. That's at 1:07 p.m. Central Standard Time on MLB Network. We have a great idea for you guys, whether you're at home or you at work watching it via the stream. Turn down the game sound and turn us up at Sports Zone Chicago and Second City Sports. Sid and Lakeena will rock with you, hang out with you until 2 o'clock. We'll give you updates throughout the game between the White Sox and the Astros game 2. Hopefully the White Sox will have a better result today. Lakeena, that ends our baseball talk. We still have several more minutes left before we close out the first hour as we now begin #Football Friday. Let's get into college football, Lakeena. And we got a couple of games tonight. Actually 3 to be exact, but 2 of them are key in terms of top 25. We have number 5 Cincinnati at 4-0, hosting 3-2 Temple. That's at 6 p.m. on ESPN, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time.
I mean, I know Temple. I know since Matt Rule left, Temple has not been the Temple that they kind of went back to being I don't want to say mediocre, but Temple is not where they used to be. So. With when Matt Rule was still there, so we'll see. I mean, I think since I'm sure Luke Fickell will have his guys ready and avoid the upsets. After that, high against being Notre Dame, but I think they'll be. Well, no, actually, the Cincinnati they're hosting Temple, so so they shouldn't have no problem with Temple as long as they don't have that hangover from last Saturday's game against Notre Dame. So that should be a fun one, but I don't think. Since he shouldn't have any problems with them. Stanford, Arizona State. That's the nightcap. That's the second half of that doubleheader. That should be a fun one. Stanford should not have won against Oregon, but again, it is what it is. Arizona State had a nice bounce back win, so let's hope they can keep it up. And this is also 2 for divisional positioning. So Arizona State's right there in the Pac-12 West right now. So we'll see how they do. Yeah, so we'll see how they do. That should be a fun one. Now, one
final from last night from college football in the top 25. Number 15. Coastal Carolina dominated Arkansas State 52-20.
Yeah, they gotta hope that since they loses, that's probably the only way they'll be able to sneak in there in the New Year's 6 game. So, they're still doing their thing, and Coastal Carolina's they're not letting up. So let's see if they can keep the ball rolling here. To start off our Saturday preview for tomorrow's games, You do it better than I do, Sid. The big noon Saturday, and I can't do it like that.
Big noon Saturday. Actually, it's a doubleheader tomorrow for Fox.
Yeah,
so.
right. Yeah, right. That's gonna actually be the ABC. That's actually going to be an ABC game. Actually, the Red River rivalry between Oklahoma and Texas. I mean, Bijou Williams, he had like 250 yards their last game against TCU. Texas did so. Texas running back. So he might run that many yards, since we all know Oklahoma's defense make things interesting. But that should be a fun one there over in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. This annual rivalry. They're always this could be a barn burner here, so it should be a lot of fun. Now, the actual big noon Saturday game, I don't know if I think Ohio State should be an upset alert. The Maryland team, I know they want to get that bad taste out of their mouth for after getting pummeled by Iowa. So I'm sure Mike Locksley will have his guys ready, and I know Ohio State's at the number 7 now, but they still don't really play like it. So it should be an interesting one there.
Yeah, and speaking of Ohio State, we talked about it last couple of weeks, Lakeena. They struggle to start fast in games, and what they've been known for in the past, starting fast in games. And it's going to be another test to see if they can do that, especially against a conference rival. Like you said, Maryland looking to get a bad taste out of their mouths from last week. Ohio State has the better talent on paper. They're ranked number 7 in the nation, but you're at home at the Horseshoe. You should be able to get out to a better start. That's the key. If they don't, it's going to be another bar burning. Like you said, it could be an upset. I know some people may not see it that way, but I do.
I think so too. And I think, look, they're gonna, like I said before, I'm sure should be a very interesting game. Also, another 11 a.m. game. This will be on the Big Ten Network. You got Michigan State and Rutgers.
Yeah, you talked about Mel Tucker over the last year or so too, Lakeena. It looks like they want to. They're back to being what they are, as being one of those top teams in the Big Ten, competing for bowl games every year, those top tier bowl games. Let's see if they can take care of Rutgers. If they can, they'll be on their way. I think they play Michigan in a couple of weeks, correct?
I believe you're right. Yep.
Yeah, so it's a tune-up for that big-time in-state rival game. So you want to collect the wins when possible, and which sets you up for Michigan in a couple of weeks for when you face better opponents down the road.
Yep, yeah, they don't play Michigan until the 30th, but yeah, they still have they have a should be an interesting one there with them and Rutgers. 2 teams in the SEC that are going to have to do some bounce back after getting pummeled, Arkansas and Ole Miss. That should be a fun one. That's at 11 a.m. on ESPN in Oxford. Should be a good one. Both teams looking to bounce back big time.
Yeah, who needs more, Ole Miss at 3-1 or Arkansas? And both teams got embarrassed last week. Of course, Arkansas took it on the chin against Texas A&M, and of course, we saw with Ole Miss with Alabama. Lane Kiffin playing nice with his old show. Talk about get your popcorn ready before the Alabama game. We saw what happened. So I think he's giving out 5 popcorn to 5,000 fans. I saw this morning. So we'll see what's up with that. I know you want to get the fans and the student section involved. So let's see if you can get your players involved to get back on track. As you mentioned, this is a big game. Also at 11 a.m. on the SEC Network, number 20 Florida will try to improve their record to 4-2, hosting 2-3 Vanderbilt.
Yeah, they shouldn't have no problems with Vanderbilt looking to bounce back from that loss. At Kentucky, West Virginia, and Baylor, that's always fun with those two Big 12 teams match up. That's 11 a.m. on FS1. Going into the 2:30 game, another good one here on CBS. You got Georgia and Auburn. That should be Auburn with a nice bounce back win against LSU, and also Georgia coming off that huge win against Arkansas. Speaking of, with that the game we talked about previously, that should be a fun one down in Auburn at Jordan.
Yeah, this could be an early preview or who gets one of those. Assuming Alabama gets that one spot, if that's the case, it comes down to 3 spots. Who's going to get one of those 3 spots? I think whoever wins this game has the fastest track to get one of those 3 spots. As you mentioned, Auburn is coming off that bad loss from a couple weeks ago at Penn State. We'll get to them in a moment. They have a big game this week. And also Georgia, they just keep on rolling. So some people, including yours truly, have Georgia as the best team in the country, even though Alabama's doing their thing. So whoever wins this game, I believe, has a fast track to getting perhaps maybe the number 2 seed in terms of the football playoff. So this is huge.
Huge indeed. In the Mountain West, you got 2:30. That's actually going to be an ABC game. We got Boise State against undefeated BYU. I'm sure the Broncos will love to kind of derail BYU's chance of trying to go for an undefeated season because they've been in that situation.
West Coast football, Lakeena, this is the game for you. I'm sure both those schools are excited because they're on ABC.
yeah, they're getting the showcase game, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool. Wake Forest and Syracuse. I know Dave, our buddy Dave Kerner joined Burville, both Syracuse grads. I'm sure looking forward to this game. Wake Forest, the only undefeated team left in the ACC. I don't think anybody thought that earlier in the year. SMU Navy, a friend of the show, Randy Cross will be calling that game. That should be a fun one there. Let's see. Florida State will try to get their first win of the season against North Carolina. Wisconsin, Illinois. I know our buddy Lamont Scott's looking forward to that game.
Wisconsin cannot lose this game. Can they? Can they? I know they're disappointing. 1-3, but they can't lose to Illinois. Can they?
You never know. A big one here in the Big Ten. Staying in the Big Ten, they got a top 5 matchup. We got number 4 Penn State and Iowa on Fox. Kinnick Stadium, where things happen there in October at Kinnick Stadium. So can the Penn State sort of keep up their offense? Can Iowa's defense slow down their offense? So it should be that should be a good one on Fox.
Now, I wish this game was on at 6:30 on ABC or at noon on Fox. I understood why Fox did it, to draw those Ohio State fans in, to keep the clicker or your stream on that same channel to watch this game. But this is going to be a great game. It's going to come down to Penn State's run defense against Iowa's rushing attack. As you mentioned, Lakeena, historically, Iowa's had a great offensive line play. Penn State has been doing a great job, especially defensively. Penn State needs to put some points on the board. Can they keep up with Iowa in doing that? I'm not sure, but I think it's going to be, as you mentioned, I'm going to go a little bit ahead of you. I know you pre-1980s football in terms of the NFL, but I think it's going to be a 2017 game, 17-10. I won't be surprised if you see the final score around that number.
Should be a fun one there. The nightcap in the Big Ten. I know it's a little weird that they picked this game to ABC. I think they didn't really have a choice because they'd had second pick, but Michigan, Nebraska. I know some people say that Nebraska. I'm sure they're gonna have the black shirts. I'm sure the people in Lincoln they'll be ready at Memorial Stadium. But I mean, Michigan, they should be on upset alert, but I don't think it's gonna be a big deal. I mean, they're not. I mean, they can slow. I think they can't slow down Adrian Martinez, so that's gonna. If they can slow him down, I think that's basically going to be a wrap for Nebraska. So I'm sure Coach Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, I should say, his guys will probably have his guys ready for that game.
Yeah, I agree with you. Michigan should be able to dominate. At the same time, at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on the ACC Network is number 14, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They'll travel to Virginia Tech to face Virginia Tech. Notre Dame checking in at 4-1, Virginia Tech 3-1.
Yeah, that should be I know Tech's been struggling the last couple weeks. They're 3-1. I know they had a bad loss a couple weeks ago. They were actually off last week, so they were actually be able to beat Richmond, so to bounce back. But I think, look, I'm not going to say they should be upset, but with Notre Dame. But what, Tech's more than capable of doing it. And I'm sure the folks at Blacksburg going to be that place is going to be rocking. So.
Also, too, at 7 o'clock on CBS, we'll have number 1 Alabama, the Crimson Tide, going to College Station to take on the Texas A&M Aggies.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, A&M struggled the last couple of games. That's why they're not in the top 25 anymore. I mean, do you think Jimbo Fisher can pull off help have his Aggies pull off an upset? Maybe, who knows? But like I said, I don't know what's going to happen there. But that should, like I said, I'm sure Kyle Field and College Station, they're going to be rocking, and that should be a lot of fun. LSU and Kentucky, they're back in the top 25 for the first time, thinking like about 5 or 6 years. So Mike Stoops has his guys rolling. So we'll see if they can keep it up against a pretty good LSU team that probably will not be in a very good mood after losing to Auburn at home, so that should be a fun one. Utah and USC, we'll see if that should be an interesting one there as well. New Mexico and San Diego State, San Diego State's undefeated right now. That should be a fun one. UCLA and Arizona. I mean, UCLA shouldn't have any problems in Arizona, I don't think.
They shouldn't, Chip Kelly.
Maybe. We'll see.
They should. Yeah, they should. And of course, New Mexico will travel to Las Vegas to take on Nevada. So that's your weekend lineup in the world of college football. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 straight ahead on this hashtag Football Friday live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago on Second City Sports. Sid and Lakeena here with you. On the flip side, we'll have our good friend Manika from KXRB Radio at the bottom of the next hour to preview Week 5, I believe, Lakeena, in the National Football League.
Yes, sir.
And in our next segment, we'll preview Bears and Las Vegas Raiders. Do the Bears actually have a chance now that Justin Fields has been named the quote-unquote full-time starter? And we'll get you ready for the other key games from the world of the National Football League, and plus a whole lot more. Along with Lakeena McGee, I am Cindy Brown. You listen to Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday on Sports Zone Chicago. Stay tuned.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. In Sunday's Major League Baseball action, the Cubs got pounded 9-1 at home against Kansas City. The White Sox shut out on the road 9-0 at Tampa. NFL preseason on Saturday, the Bills hammered the Bears 41-15. Andy Dalton, 11 of 17 passing, 146 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Justin Fields, 9 of 19 for 80 yards. Head coach Matt Nagy says Dalton remains the Week 1 starter and that Fields is ahead of schedule.
When you look at a guy like Justin and you see the things that he's doing, are there some things that he can get better at? Yeah, for sure. That's going to be, we're going to say that 3 years from now. But at the same point in time, for him, there's also things that he's doing better probably than we thought coming into this, which is good too. Like, that's what we want. We want that to happen.
Download the free Score app. Lightning fast updates so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Blue Star medicated ointment works fast to relieve the pain and itch of almost any skin irritation.
It's amazing. It's like as soon as you put it on, you can feel it working.
We've had Blue Star in the family for years. It works on everything.
I love the cooling sensation on my athlete's foot.
What a relief for my eczema.
Nothing worked on my dry, cracked skin until I tried Blue Star.
Blue Star is great for scalp itch.
Look for the white box with the blue star in the first aid section. Feel Blue Star work fast or your money back.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
Welcome back to hashtag Football Friday, hour number 2 on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I'm Cindy Brown. That's me. You can follow yours truly on Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
Follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
We know we're a couple minutes away from Game 2 between the White Sox and the Astros in Game 2 of the AL Division Series. Well, the Astros lead that best of 5 series, rather 1-0. Whether you're in your office watching it on the stream or you're at home watching it on television, turn the sound down. The game, turn us up on Second City Sports. We're with you from now until 2 o'clock. As we now will get into our preview in an NFL Week 5 matchup between our Chicago Bears, who check in at 2-2. The Las Vegas Raiders check in at 3-1. Lakeena, this game will take place at the Raiders' new home in Las Vegas on Sunday, 3:05 p.m. You can watch that game on CBS. CBS's number 2 team will be there in Evan Washburn, Charles Davis, and Ian Eagle. Lakeena, the Bears with an important victory last week against the Detroit Lions by the score of 24-14. Justin Fields, we mentioned on Monday, he looked great. He's been named the full-time starter now. Matt Nagy, you weren't fooling anybody but yourself and anybody else who is dumb enough to listen. But we'll get into that in a moment. But of course, the Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders, they lose a close one. I know the final score didn't indicate it, but they lost a close one after trailing by 21 points early in the game to the Los Angeles Chargers, or we call them the San Diego Chargers or Los Angeles on this show. But the Raiders lost in prime time on the road last week. They get to come back home to try to rebound against the Bears. Lakeena, what do you what percentage we will make our picks on this game along with the rest in our next time? Maybe that was Matt Nagy ringing your phone, but but what are your three keys for the Bears to pull off an upset over the Raiders on the road this Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting with Damian Williams now running the ball instead of, David Montgomery's going to be out for about 5 weeks. That's going to be the key. And look, you've got a pretty solid front seven for, they're not, world beaters, but the Max Crosby's pretty good. Quentin Jefferson's pretty good. So those are two defensive tackles and defensive end. That's actually really good. And also, too, will Fields have the time? I mean, I still don't trust that O-line. I don't. And that's another key. I think another key is, Khalil Mack. He's been named the captain of this game. Of course, he was a Raider, wasn't a Las Vegas Raider. They were still in Oakland. Oh, I don't
Oakland,
know. Oakland, yeah, they've moved so many times. But also, he actually is playing with a rib injury and a sprained foot. So you got to think how, 100% he really is, playing through injuries. You know what? I think it's gonna be one of those games. It's gonna be one of those like 10-12, like 12-10 or 13-10 type of games, because I think both offenses just aren't. You really don't know. Now again, you may see more, less, gimmicky stuff, with Justin Fields, but yeah, is he gonna have the time? Like I said, I think that's gonna be the thing.
Yeah, taking a look at the numbers from both teams offensively, the Bears are ranked number 32, even though they put up 24 points last week against a bad Lions team. The Raiders ranked 7th in total offense in the National Football League. On defense, the Raiders, which they struggled on defense the last couple of years, they're ranked number 19th overall, while the Bears defense are ranked number 12. In passing, Derek Carr has been having a great year for the Las Vegas Raiders. The reason why the Oakland has the number 3 passing attack in the league, while the Bears are checking in at number 32, dead last. Now, rushing the football, the Raiders check in at number 27, while the Bears check in at number 11. Lakeena, who's going to run the ball the best? As you mentioned, David Montgomery is going to be out close to a month with that knee injury. Think this is not any more serious than what people speculated after last Sunday's win. But Damian Williams, this is why you signed him in the offseason. He's going to get boatload of the carries. Let's see if Khalil Herbert could get some carries as well. I'm sure he's going to relieve Mr. Williams at times during the game. On the flip side, you have Peyton Barber for the Raiders. I know Josh Jacobs has been their stud running back as well. Lakeena, if the Bears defense, as we expect for them to at least play competent football, the Raiders are going to have to learn, are going to have to lean on pounding the rock, because head coach of the Raiders, John Gruden, always preaches for his teams to pound the rock. And I assume that Eddie Goldman will be making his regular season debut this Sunday. And if that's the case, the Raiders have a tall task ahead of them, assuming that the Bears play competent defense, because John Gruden, even though he likes Derek Carr right now, if Derek Carr turns it over a couple of times, it's going to be an ugly day for that passing offense for the Raiders.
Well, but if you're Derek Carr, you got to be salivating, because that secondary, Jalen Johnson has, he's been pretty good, but again, that's not really much to write home about. Eddie Jackson, okay, you've seen some flashes from him this year, but you got to go up against Henry Ruggs Jr. and Hunter Renfrow. So those are two guys that might benefit, because we saw what happened a couple weeks ago against the Rams for the Bears. So I don't really trust that secondary against that. That might be the one thing that maybe Carr. Now, can they force Carr to make a turnovers? He could. I mean, but again, also Akeem Hicks might be out again with the groin injury. That groin has been a big issue for him the last couple of weeks. So, I think for me, it's going to be like who will show up. I think, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fans from Chicago, and also maybe a lot of Chicago-based folks who are now in Las Vegas. They're going to be a lot of making the trek to the game. So you might see about a third, maybe 30-35% Bears fans there. So again, that's going to be a very interesting how atmosphere there as well. As for the defense, I mean, look, I'm Khalil Mack's not 100%, like I said earlier. That's going to be a concern. That has to be. And look, we'll see how Justin Fields look. I mean, look, can they keep him upright? Can that O-line keep him upright? Because that's a pretty. I'm not gonna say they're like a top 10 defense, like I said earlier, but they have some players. I just mentioned them, so I'm not. I don't know if I really trust them with that. So it's gonna get very tough for this. I mean, like I said, I think that's going to be the key. Are we going to see the O line that kept Fields upright against the Lions? Of course, I still say it's the Lions. Or are we going to see the defense have like a 9-sack game like the Browns did? So we'll see.
You listen to Hashtag Football Friday on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We're live and in living color. Sid and Lakeena here with you as we preview this Sunday's game between the Chicago Bears and the Las Vegas Raiders. Lakeena, let's stick with the Raiders offense. Tight end Darren Waller, he's one of the best young tight ends in the game. I want to see how that matchup, how Waller goes up against that Bears defense, in particular linebacker Roquan Smith. We talked about it on Monday, Lakeena, and I think Akeem Talib mentioned it on the broadcast during last week's Lions-Bears game. Roquan is great in coverage, but he's not great one-on-one. If that matchup happens, do you see Mr. Waller taking advantage of it, or do you think Mr. Smith will have something in store for him?
Like I said, I mean, I don't think Carr hasn't been sacked too many times, so I think look, it's going to be a tough task. But again, you have a Khalil Mack that's not 100%, so they might be able to take advantage of that. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup there. Like I said, I mean, Hicks is still not he may not play, so I think that's nothing I'm a little worried about there. Can Eddie Goldman, how big of an impact can he make? Robert Quinn, we've heard his name in the last couple of games. Will we still hear his name? I mean, we'll see. I mean, look, I think this is gonna be one of those toss-up games. I feel like if you flip a coin, these two teams play. I know they played last year, a couple years ago when they were in London, and this is actually gonna be the first time. Well, they'll be Vegas will be playing at home against the Bears, so it's going to be a very interesting game. And I think that's why they sent CBS send their number 2 team, because it's actually going to be they think it's going to be a pretty decent game, but we'll see.
Also, going back to that Raiders defense, I talked about him a couple of years ago, and he was part of that Khalil Mack trade. Of course, the aftermath after the Raiders picked up all those picks from the Bears prior to the 2018 season. But watch out for number 24, Jonathan Abram, the hard-hitting safety. I know he struggles to coach, but he could deliver big hits, and he could cause turnovers as well in that Raiders secondary. I know that their secondary isn't the greatest either, but watch out for Jonathan Abram. He's a hard hitter, and he can give a couple of licks. So if Mr. Fields decides to run down the middle of the field, or if Cole Kmet or Allen Robinson decides to come in the middle of the field, they could be looking for some trouble. Now, sticking with Mr. Fields, Lakeena, in this game plan, there was a great game plan last week. Offensive coordinator for the Bears, Bill Lazor, called a great game. I expect them to do the same thing against this suspect Raiders defense. It's a step above the Lions, maybe a couple of steps. They're not that much better, but they're better than the Lions. But I want to see them do the same game plan again. Have Justin in some rollouts, some play action. I want to see Cole Kmet get involved more in the gameplay. Jimmy Graham, we haven't heard from him at all this season. So assuming that running game can get sort of on track. I want to see the tight ends in particular be used just a little bit more, because if they are, they'll open things up that much more for Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney, who had a great game last week against the Lions.
This actually be an interesting matchup too. I want to see how Casey Hayward Jr. I mean, he's been pretty solid as well. I'm sure he's going to be going up against Allen Robinson, so
the former
as
Charger.
Well. Yeah, so I'm wondering how much of an impact will he make against them. Look, I think it's going to be this could be an interesting game. I mean, I think we've had issues with the Bears this year, and look, we just got to wait and see which Bears team are we going to get. I mean, I think the Raiders are not a bigger step up. I mean, I don't think they're. I think the Bears and the Raiders are kind of like in the same, sort of like in the same wavelength. They're kind of like, like under 500. Maybe you could say the Raiders are a little bit better than the Bears. We'll just have to wait and see. We'll see on the field. But I'm sure Gruden will love to try to win this game, and it should be a fun. It should be interesting. Like I said, it's gonna be a very entertaining game. Again, if we can keep Justin Fields upright.
If you have a comment about what do you expect from the Bears and or the Raiders for this Sunday's contest, you can place your comments in the comment section on our Facebook page. That's Sports Zone Chicago on Facebook, or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Place your comments in the comments section. Do you think the Bears will roll out the same game plan like they did last week against the Lions? Do you expect them to get blown out, which is very possible? What do you expect from this Sunday's Bears-Raiders game? Place your comments in the comment section on our YouTube page at Sports Zone Chicago or on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page. Place your comments in the comment section. We'll get them up and running for you. Lakeena, last thing. This is a big elephant in the room. Bears head coach Matt Nagy officially announced that I'm using air quotes for those listening exclusive on our audio podcast. Matt Nagy officially announced that Justin Fields will be the starter going forward. Let's just keep it simple. Who were you fooling, Mr. Nagy? You weren't fooling me or most of the people who were paying attention with both their eyes wide open.
Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of felt like, somebody at the top probably like knocked on his door and probably told him, look, put Fields in. That's probably, to me, I think that's what happened. I think, he's not fooling anybody. And I think that was probably the case where I think, he got a knock on the door from like maybe one of the higher ups. Maybe not Pace.
I'm a knock on the door. Your job is not waiting for you.
Oh, good job. Only not a lot of folks under 35 who are going to be watching and listening to this one will get that reference, what you just said.
R.I.P. John Ritter.
Yeah, God rest his soul. Yeah, but I mean, this was just, I've said it before, one of those times where I think somebody at the top probably told him like, yeah, they'll stop with the word salad, put Fields in. I think that's pretty much keeping it simple there. I think that's probably what happened. I think they're not fooling anybody. I don't think he wanted to make this move. I think he kept trying to see if maybe Don will be healthy enough. But I think somebody told him no. Fields gives him the best chance to win. Put him in. So.
Yeah, update from Houston at the top of the first inning. 2 men on for the Chicago Southsiders. Eloy Jimenez has a RBI single, which scored Luis Roberts. So the White Sox grabbed an early 1-0 lead over the Houston Astros. We're at the top of the first inning. So the White Sox, unlike yesterday, they're off to a hot start as far as their bets are concerned. We'll keep you updated right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago between now and 2 o'clock in Game 2 of that series. Lakeena, let's go back to our NFL discussion as we mercifully get away from the Bears until our girl Christine comes on at the bottom of the hour. Are you looking forward to the first NFL game in London this season? It will feature the Atlanta Falcons and the New York Jets. The Falcons both teams checking in at 1-3. As we mentioned, we'll give our picks in our next segment. But are you looking forward to the first game overseas this season?
Yeah, I'll check it out. I mean, I think this will be the first London game in a couple of years because of the pandemic. So this should be an interesting game. I mean, the Jets are coming off their first win this season against the Titans. So, and also Atlanta's been up and down. They've been close a couple of times. You probably say it should be 3-1 right now, but this might be an entertaining game. I mean, they might have a good one there, but again, should be, this is gonna be at Tottenham Stadium. This is where the Tottenham Hotspurs, the Premier League team, play. So I'm sure folks are. I'm sure it's gonna be limited, the crowds and whatnot, and I'm sure vaccinations and stuff like that. So, but it should be a pretty entertaining game, I think. I'm looking forward to the noon game. I think the Green Bay Cincy game might be. I'm not gonna say that Cincy will pull off the upset, but I think Green Bay shouldn't look past them. I feel like because you saw what Cincy did against the Vikings. I should say you saw what they did against the Bears. Almost pulling off that game if Burrow had not thrown a couple of those interceptions. So that should be a fun one. Denver and Pittsburgh. It looks like Teddy Bridgewater will be a go. But that should be a fun one. Pittsburgh hoping to bounce back. They're 1-3. That should that definitely need that win. Need this win desperately. Pittsburgh does. New England and Houston, 1-3s. I don't know about that. 10.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the New Orleans Saints traveling to our nation's capital to face the Washington football team. Both teams are checking in at 2-2. I believe our good friend Spiro Diaz will be calling that game for CBS.
Yes, he will. Cleveland and Los Angeles. That should be a fun one. It looks like Baker Mayfield is banged up.
Yeah, he's been
So,
playing with a partial tear in his shoulder. I know he's looking
ouch.
for a contract extension. So wherever numbers he puts up, he deserves the bag and then some.
Yeah, that should be a fun one there in Los Angeles. That's actually going to be the other game, so if you don't, people in Chicago won't get that game because it's, the same time, on CBS as the Bears Raiders game, but you can watch it, via whatever your device, computer, smart TV, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you
Um,
have to do the Sunday ticket package, you can watch it
right.
there as well.
San Fran and Arizona. I mean, I think Arizona, they're the only undefeated team left in the NFL. I don't think anybody has that.
This could be, and it should be. I'm sounding like Harry Curry. It might be, it could be, it should be. Whatever. But this should be the first career start of Trey Lance. If you 49ers
right.
head coach Kyle Shanahan. I don't care what Jimmy G, how he feels or what his injury situation is. It may sound cruel to some people the way it just came out of my mouth, but let's be real here. I know Trey Lance may not be ready yet. I know some people say, well, Jimmy G gives you the best chance to win. But as we talked about throughout this early part of the season, Lakeena, San Francisco has struggled to start hot offensively in games. And Trey Lance gives you that spark, and that's what you need for you, the 49ers. Their defense actually hasn't been that bad. It's just that they start slowing off. They start slowing offense. And you need Trey Lance should be starting this game. I think he will. If he does, even if he gets killed, I believe personally he still gives the 49ers the best chance to win. He has the better mobility than Jimmy G.
But regardless, it should be a fun one there. But these are two NFC West rivals, so it should be a fun one there. Incidentally, this is not the first time that the Cardinals is the last time the Cardinals were the last team. It happened in 1974, so they actually started 7-0 that year. So we'll see if that trend can continue for them. The Sunday night game is going to be the real fun one here. So you got Buffalo and Kansas City. I might surprise you with my pick, but again, you guys have to find out in a little bit.
Well, Buffalo is seeking revenge for what happened last year in the championship game. Of course, Kansas City has struggled out of the gate at 2-2. Buffalo has looked like the class of the AFC conference, according to some people. I think it's going to be a great game. Let's hope for a great game. I'll be flipping back and forth between that and the White Sox game 3 with the Astros. Of course, the Sox will have their first home game at Sox Park since 2008. But going back to football, it's going to come down to the running game for both teams. It really is. So who's going to force turnovers? Because remember, Buffalo couldn't do that after the first quarter in last year's championship game. Their defense fell apart, especially in that second half. If Buffalo can not turn the ball over with Josh Allen, if their defense can step up, I'm talking about Buffalo's. If Buffalo's defense can step up and force some turnovers, and Buffalo convert them into touchdowns instead of field goals, Buffalo can walk away with the win on the road.
That could be a big key there,
and it'll be a big confidence booster for the Bills.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I think they're going to want that revenge after what happened last year in the AFC title game. Kind of felt like if the ball didn't bounce a different way, they probably would have been right. They probably would have been going to the Super Bowl, but we'll see. New Orleans at Washington. That's another new game on CBS.
Talked about that one. Yep.
Yeah, so that should be a fun one there as well. So we still got a few minutes left, Sid. Let's recap last night's really entertaining game between a couple of other NFC West rivals. You got, the Rams pulling away from the Seahawks. Fingers are the theme here for
ow!
Matt Stafford busts his index finger, but it didn't it deterred him. Threw for 365 yards and a touchdown. Russell Wilson, unfortunately, not so much. He injured his right middle finger, and we saw Geno Smith for the first time 4 or 5 years. The first drive that he took, marched them down the field, and 96 yard series. We saw, that's Geno Smith from West Virginia. They were up there for a little bit. Him and Steve Slade. So those were good teams back in the mid 2000s. But in the last series where they threw the interception, now granted Tyler Lockett fell, so there was really nothing he could have done there. But he could be the guy going forward, especially it looks like he might, Russell Wilson for the first time in his career might be gone for a little bit.
Yeah, as we talked about before we went on air, Lakeena, Geno Smith did look good, but he hasn't played in the NFL game outside of preseason in the last few years. But did you check out that? First of all, let's give credit to the Rams. They had a great running attack with Sony Michel and Darrell Henderson. As we talked about before, Lakeena, if they can run the ball to help out Matthew Stafford, that Rams team will be unstoppable because they already have the defense led by Aaron Donald. So that's solid in that set, but the Rams can run the ball with some consistency. They'll be okay. But did you check out that double punt in the same series last night? I saw that. I was like, did I see what I think I just saw? Because it reminded me of going to hockey. I know hockey starting next week. We'll talk more about that on Monday. But remember Andrew Shaw's headbutt goal in Game 2 of the Anaheim series in the Western Conference Finals back in 2015? I said, that's the first thing that popped in my head. And I was like, I didn't think you could do that. Punt the ball twice, have to get it and block the first time. I had never seen anything like that.
Yeah, Michael Dixon, I'm sure like that was sort of like, it got blocked. His punt got blocked. Then he kicked it again. And I thought, it threw off. If you heard the broadcast, it threw off Aikman and Joe Buck as well. They said that some people were feeling like, wait a minute, that's legal. So like I didn't think it was legal, but they let it go. And look, it was a double punt that started trending for a little bit. But crazy things happen between these two teams. And again, there's another crazy one. So. But let's see. I mean, Jamal Adams was a little like up and down for the Seahawks, so I'm sort of looking forward to see how, especially it looks like Russell Wilson might be gone for a while. So it was like, who steps up? Can Geno Smith, with practice, can he be because like he is going to be the guy going forward?
Yes, and our girl going forward, as she joins us a little bit early, is our girl, Chicago's very own, our home girl from KXRB Radio, off our charity work on the radio last week. Miss Christine Manika. Hey. Christine, welcome to the show.
A lot has happened within the last couple of weeks, but I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we were talking about the Seattle, I was going to say St. Louis, good grief, the Los Angeles Rams game. The Los Angeles Rams game from last night. And have you seen that Dickerson punt twice in the same series?
Yeah.
I've never seen that before in a game of football. You can get the punt twice. I thought it was going to be a flag throw, but I guess you could do it. You can see kickers around the league trying to do that now.
I'm more upset at the fact that because my fantasy QB is Russell Wilson.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's gone. And my backup is Baker Mayfield. He's playing with a shoulder injury. So if anybody has any free agents, let me know. Your girl's struggling.
I thought of you. I'm like, oh Lord, our girl Christine, both for our quarterbacks are going to be scared.
We're done for a little bit.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Before we take our break for the bottom of the hour, Christine, of course, Game 2 between the White Sox and Astros is going on right now. Bottom one, the White Sox have an early 1-0 lead as the Astros lead their best-of-5 series 1-9. Of course, there's been talk about what happened yesterday with the White Sox losing. Lance Lynn shouldn't have pitched. He should be pitching today. And Tony La Russa, everything gets blamed on him. Why, I don't know. And of course, Lance McCullers.
He's old, that's why.
Yeah, there you go. And Lance McCullers pitched a great game for the Astros yesterday. What were your thoughts about the loss yesterday for Chicago Southsiders?
Can I just say I wasn't panicking? Everyone was blowing up my phone yesterday saying, oh my gosh, Christine, what are you going to do? And I just said, there's still a lot of baseball left. There's 2 games left. Let it happen. We knew that they were at least going to come this far. Ideally, did we want this team to be Houston? No. But, things happen. And I'm not worried. And just to hear that they are up 1-0 right now, let's keep it going. Just take it one ball at a time, 1 inning at a time, and just Chicago breathe. Everybody breathe.
Yeah, it looks
Musa.
Exactly.
Julia's doing pretty well so far. Get the first 2 outs, also too. Of course, Eloy was able to take advantage of that bases loaded, got a sac fly single, but. Yeah, look, I'm hoping that they can jump on Valdez early, and they've done that so far. It looks like so. We'll see. I mean, it should be a fun game too.
Yeah, what be more fun is our NFL picks. So Lakeena will have our results for the first our first 4 weeks of the regular
I
season.
don't want to hear it. It's fine.
No, it's actually
Oh,
actually, it's not too bad. We did not have a good week last week. None of the three of us did. But
Exactly.
but overall, it's actually not too bad. I actually re-listened to the first couple weeks of the show, and we're doing a little bit better, Christy. So I'll tell you why as we do our NFL Week 5 picks with our girl KXRB's Christine Manika. Coming up next, this is Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll be right back.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. In Sunday's Major League Baseball action, the Cubs got pounded 9-1 at home against Kansas City. The White Sox shut out on the road 9-0 at Tampa. NFL preseason on Saturday, the Bills hammered the Bears 41-15. Andy Dalton, 11 of 17, passing 146 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Justin Fields, 9 of 19 for 80 yards. Head coach Matt Nagy says Dalton remains the Week 1 starter and that Fields is ahead of schedule.
When you look at a guy like Justin and you see the things that he's doing, are there some things that he can get better at? Yeah, for sure. That's going to be, we're going to say that 3 years from now. But at the same point in time, for him, there's also things that he's doing better probably than we thought coming into this, which is good too. Like, that's what we want. We want that to happen.
Download the free Score app. Lightning fast updates so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Blue Star medicated ointment works fast to relieve the pain and itch of almost any skin irritation.
It's amazing. It's like as soon as you put it on, you can feel it working.
We've had Blue Star in the family for years. It works on everything.
I love the cooling sensation on my athlete's foot.
What a relief for my eczema.
Nothing worked on my dry, cracked skin until I tried Blue Star.
Blue Star is great for scalp itch.
Look for the white box with the blue star in the first aid section. Feel Blue Star work fast or your money back.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Lakeena McGee and our good friend Miss Christine Manika from KXRB Radio in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I am Sydney Brown. If you want to comment on our topics, any of our topics from today's show, including our football picks, which will be coming to you in just a moment, you can do so by going to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or going to Sports Zone Chicago's YouTube page. Drop your picks in the comments section, and I'll give your questions out to Christina or Lakeena or myself during today's White Sox game. We're less than a half hour away from shutting the show down. So if you have any comments or questions for us, drop it in the comment section. Lakeena will get them up and running for you. Of course, now, ladies, let's get ready to get our picks together for Week 5 in the National Football League. Lakeena, what is our results through the first 4 weeks of the season?
Well, I have them right here. Sid, you're in the lead with 42.
As always.
But the good news is I'm right behind you at 41, and Christine, you're right behind. There's only a 2-game separation between the three of us, so still a lot to be played. So do not get discouraged, Christine. We are right there.
I was not proud of myself last week. I'll say that. I
wasn't. I wasn't either. Yeah, some of that stuff was, some of those picks we definitely missed on, but we shouldn't miss on some of these picks today. But again, look, there's still last season left. We're in Week 5 already. So this will be the first of the London games. This will be the Jets and the Falcons. There's an early game, 8:30 a.m. Central Time. And so, get up early for this game. But Sid, you start this.
Of course, that game can be seen on NFL Network at 8:30 a.m. Chicago time, or if you don't get NFL Network, as Lakeena said, you can search for Google and you can find your answers there to see the game via the Google. But anyhow, the Jets got on track with the first win of the season last week against the banged up Tennessee Titans team and winning in overtime. The Atlanta Falcons, I had Matt Ryan starting as my fantasy quarterback last week. His numbers look good, but he had that stupid turnover falling at his knees instead of throwing it out of bounds. He threw it to the open defender from the Washington team. Good grief. And, of course, Jared McKissick had that airborne touchdown at the end of the game to clinch it for the Washington football team. I know Atlanta has now starting to have injuries all over the place, especially defensively. Maybe this will be a good thing for the Jets to get out of the country and go on the road because they won't have as many distractions. But this is really a toss-up game, to be honest with you. I know Zach Wilson's a rookie quarterback. I know he had a good game last week. But I don't like this pick. I really don't. But I'm going with the Falcons. I don't. It's not as easy as you think, folks. It really isn't.
This is going to be bad either way, right? Like,
yeah.
A lot of people have given up on the Falcons, and surprisingly, this could be a tough game. So I don't know. I think I'm just going to go with the Falcons just because they seem to have a little bit more of their ish together than the Jets do at times. So I'm going to go with Atlanta for this one.
I want to apologize to the good folks in London who are going to be watching this game at Tottenham Stadium because it's, this could be like a 9-6, 10-7 or whatever. And,
1980s football, Lakeena.
That's pretty much what it's gonna be. So I'm gonna pick the Falcons as they're supposed to be the home team in this game. I know they had a lot of injuries, but the Jets, they might be, a bit of a high from last game. But it might be entertaining. It might surprise us. Who knows? In the noon games versus the noon games, you got the 0-4 Lions against the 1-3 Vikings in the NFC North.
Bad performance by Minnesota last week.
I can start with this
Cleveland.
one. Oh.
Okay. Bad performance by the Vikings last week.
Sorry.
Only putting up 7 points against Cleveland. I know Cleveland surprisingly has a good defense. It's not just Myles Garrett. You could blame Kirk Cousins and the entire Minnesota coaching staff. They still had a chance to win that game. On the flip side, Detroit, we saw what happened here in Chicago last week. Enough said. I'm going with Minnesota one more time. They're at home. If they don't get their stuff together, their head coach, Mike Zimmer, could be back on the hot seat. So I'm going with Minnesota.
Christine?
Ideally it should be Minnesota, right? But crazier things have happened. So when it comes to going off of what Sid said, it should have, but Detroit pull off this one, I will be completely confused.
Oh gosh, I'll pick Minnesota. I guess since they're at home, I kind of feel like this is. I don't want to say this is going to be a get right game for them, but they've just had some bad breaks, and Kirk Cousins due for maybe an interception or two. You're going to get every game from him. So, but I'll pick Minnesota. I might regret that later, but. It'll be an interesting game, as it usually is between these NFC North rivals. Second game in the noon slate, you got the Saints and Washington. Christine, you start this one.
I think I left this one blank. I don't know why, but I just couldn't decide at the moment. So, it's kind of, boy. Again, tough one. I will go with Saints. Just because they seem to be a little bit more reliable, kind of going on with what I said with the Jets earlier. So I'll give this one to the Saints.
New Orleans they were leading the majority of their game last week in their true home debut against a garbage New York Giants football team. Shout out Saquon Barkley. He looked great in that game, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
But Washington with a surprise win on the road at Atlanta last week. I'm with you, Christine. I'm going with the Saints. It's going to be a close one, but Jameis Winston should do enough for the Saints to win, and the Saints better run the ball with Alvin Kamara, because if they don't, it's going to be a long day for that Saints offense. The Saints, they had the Giants. They were up 11 midway through that second half, and then they just gave it away. So I think this is a get-right game, especially for that New Orleans Saints defense.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too. I mean, as much as I love Taylor Heineke and his story, I just don't trust that Washington offense overall. I know Cam Jordan, the rest of the Saints defense are not going to be in a very good mood. They're going to be very angry. So I think we're going to get a good outing from Mr. Jameis Winston for the Saints. So I'm going to pick the Saints too on the road. All right, you got a couple 1-3s here in the AFC. You got the Patriots and the Texans. Sid, you start.
At the beginning of the year, it looked like it was going to be Cam Newton versus Deshaun Watson. Look how the tide has turned. Houston is terrible. They may be the worst football team in the league this year. I feel sorry for their new head coach. Brother, what you got yourself into? I know you didn't ask for it, but here you go. For the flip side, for New England, they put up a big fight last week in front of a national audience against Tom Brady and his crew. Matt Jones, it looks like he's improving every week. I expect him to do the same thing on the road. I'm going with New England.
Christine?
Yeah, I will go with Sid on this one too. And Matt Jones, what a kid. He really is holding his own, especially against the GOAT Tom Brady, who's at least 50 apparently. So you gotta give him respect as well. And as far as Houston goes, it's a mess. Like, I feel bad. Sid was saying, I feel horrible for the head coach. Nobody probably saw this coming for him. So yeah, it's got to be the Patriots for this one.
Yeah, it's gonna get worse for the Texans, I feel like. So I'm gonna keep it short. I'm gonna pick the Patriots in a bounce back game for them. All right, you got the Battle of Florida, and this next one, you got the Dolphins and the Bucks. I'll start this one off this time. I think the Bucks, there won't be any lingering hangover from that whole emotional atmosphere in Foxborough on Sunday night.
You sure about that?
Well, yeah. I mean, they've got they definitely have some issues. I think the Dolphins will keep it close, but I think the Bucks got better talent, so I'm gonna give it to the Bucks, and they're at home, so that's why I'm picking them.
I'm going with Tampa Bay. I know Rob Gronkowski's going to miss his second straight game. I know number 2, CBS has that number 1 crew down there with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. Maybe Tony Romo will give Tom Brady a parade. I don't know, down there at South Beach during the broadcast. I don't know. But looking, I think Miami will surprise some folks. I don't know what the line is. I don't have it in front of me. But I think Tampa will do enough by running the ball and forcing a couple of turnovers late. So I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Going off with what Lakeena said, you said it was a home game, but technically it's kind of a home game for both of the teams. I think they're all in their home state. Probably Miami's going to at least try to make the trip up to Tampa. But, like what you guys were saying, it's a no-brainer. Tom Brady's going to, do Tom Brady things, and Tampa's going to take this one.
Should be a fun one there between those two. And an intriguing one here, conference game. You got the Packers and Bengals both at 3-1. Sid, you start.
As badly I want to pick the Bengals to win, as emotionally I want to keep my emotional state in check. And I think Cincinnati's been better than what people expect, including us here on the panel to a certain extent. I just got to believe on the other side, as Stephen A would say, that bad man Aaron Rodgers has something up his sleeve. And the Packers going on the road. They're not the greatest team, at least so far this year, but they're good enough to win. I expected this to be a close game. I think Cincinnati, they're not quite ready for prime time yet, but I expect Aaron Rodgers to do his thing, unfortunately, as a Bears fan. So I'm going with Green Bay on the road. But I'm rooting for Cincinnati to win.
Yeah, I'll with Sid on this one and say it's going to be Green Bay. It will be a close one. I saw an interview that apparently Aaron Rodgers is not the biggest fan of the city itself, of Cincinnati. Who knows why? But he's not doing great this year. Neither of the Packers are. So, but still, it's going to be the Packers, unfortunately.
I think Cincy will keep it close. They got the talent to kind of keep it close, but then again, Joe Mixon is out for a few weeks, so you got to think that's not going to help them with their run game. So I'll pick the Packers pulling away, but I think Cincy will keep it close at least for the first quarter, I believe. Another good one here. You got the another good one here. You got the Broncos and the Steelers. 1-3 Steelers. Teddy Bridgewater looks like will be cleared to play. He's practicing today, so it looks like I guess he's going to get clearance. So Christine, you start this one.
Well, dang it, that totally changed my vote then. Holy cow, wait a second. All right, so originally I said the Steelers were going to take this one just because Denver had that huge launch of Bridgewater, and who knows what would have happened if Drew Lock got in, but he could have surprised. Now knowing that, and knowing that everyone thinks that Big Ben is kind of washed up, I think I give this one to Denver. I just might, because that's my vote a little. Be wrong. I should be stick guns and saying Steelers, but I'll go Denver for this one.
I will go with Pittsburgh only because they're at home. I was getting ready to say, can it get any worse for Pittsburgh? Can it? Hopefully Ben Roethlisberger doesn't take another. Well, yeah, technically it can.
Yeah.
But hopefully Big Ben doesn't take any more big shots. Of course, that Denver defense has been surprisingly good this year. That's one of the reasons why they all to a 3-1 start. But I'm going with Pittsburgh on this one. They're at home. They can run the ball a little bit better than Denver can. And plus, it's an early game for Denver going back to the East Coast. I know they did it to start the year in Jacksonville, and they handled the Jaguars with no problem. Of course, Urban Meyer has other issues, but we won't get into that now. But I'm going with Pittsburgh for this game.
Yeah. Gosh, this is one of those toss-up ones. I really, I know Bridgewater's been cleared, but he hasn't practiced that much, so I think that might be an issue too. I'm going with the Steelers because they're at home, and I think they need this win more than Denver does. And I think hopefully we can get a little bit of remnants of what we saw from Big Ben from back in the day, but you never know. So I'm going to pick the Steelers. I guess only because they're at home. That's probably the only reason why I'm picking them. This is a tough one.
Yeah.
Eagles and Panthers. Panthers get Stephon Gilmore, even though he's actually going to be out for another week or two. But yeah, this should be an interesting one here. Christine, you start this one.
I'll keep it short and say Carolina, just because they seem to be a little bit more hungry for the win, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Philadelphia, they could be flying high and surprise us all, but I'll go with Carolina for this one.
Originally, Panthers running back Christian McCaffrey was supposed to be out for a few weeks. I know he's been practicing in very limited action this week. He could see his first action in a few weeks this Sunday, but whether he sees the field or not, I know Philadelphia, they've been terrible. Carolina looks like they're going to be this year's surprise team, at least one of the early surprise teams in the National Football League. They gave the Cowboys a good fight last week until that third quarter where the Cowboys put up a 20 spot on them. I know Carolina made a game of it again late, but I think Carolina can carry some momentum from the fourth quarter of that game last week at Dallas. So they're at home; they should be able to win.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you. I think Eagles are just the talent isn't there right now, and I think the Panthers. I think they almost won against Dallas, so I think they're going to feed off that momentum. So I think the Panthers will be going to 4-1.
Yeah, Sam Darnold's having a surprisingly great year.
New system, new team, new system, and better results.
Yeah.
All right, AFC South matchup here. You got the Titans and Jacksonville. I'm going to keep it short. I'm picking the Titans. There's too much stuff going on in Jacksonville. We won't rehash any of that because that's for all your social media fandom there. But I'm going to keep it short. I'm picking the Titans, and it's going to be feed Mr. Henry. Feed Mr. Henry. Keep it going.
I'm going with the Titans. Urban Meyer, he may be looking for work sooner rather than later. And, I'll leave it at that. Before I get myself in trouble.
I'll say this about Jacksonville. I can't remember the last time they've been in the news this much. And that's all I'll say about that. So, on that note, Tennessee.
All right. So first of the 3 o'clock games, it should be a good one here in the AFC. You got the Browns and the Chargers. Sid, you start.
As much I wanted to pick the Los Angeles Chargers to win, I know they had to hold on to that win against the Raiders last Monday night in front of a national audience. There's something about me that just, I'm not going to say I don't trust about them. They are a very good team, but I think Cleveland's just a little bit better, especially defensively. And if Cleveland can get after Justin Herbert early, we know that Justin Herbert against very good defenses so far this year has struggled. I know people are going to yell at me and say, you saw what Justin did at Kansas City. Kansas City's defense as of right now is terrible. So you leave it as where it may be, and I give out facts. And another fact, Baker Mayfield, as we mentioned, he's playing with a partial tear in his throwing shoulder, but you don't have to depend on Baker Mayfield. What do the Browns? What do the Browns do for you? They run the ball. They did it last week at Minnesota. They're going to do it again this week on the road at the Chargers. So I'm going with Cleveland. Cleveland Rocks running that ball.
I think I don't know. The Chargers could surprise you. They've surprised me this year. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think that they were going to be the team that they are today. So, Sid, I'm going to go against you, and I'm going to say I'm with the Chargers. I really am, just because I think for once. So Chargers.
Yeah, I'm picking the Chargers too. I just don't. Baker Mayfield is banged up, so I know they're going to run the ball more. But I think Chargers got the good pass rush, so I think they might be able to slow that down. So I think just because also they're at home. If they were in Cleveland, I probably would pick the Browns, but since they're going to be in Los Angeles, I'm picking the Chargers. Where it's SoFi. I'm sure Cleveland fans will be traveling. We'll be out there in full force over at SoFi Stadium on Sunday.
Let's get the hell out of Cleveland before it snows.
Yeah, right. Exactly. A good one here in the NFC. See, you got that one, Christina. And then you see one here in the NFC West. You got the 2-2 49ers and the Cardinals. Now, I'll start this one. It looks like maybe Trey Lance might start that game. I think Jimmy G is banged up. But there's always something going on between these two teams. There's always a good matchup here. Arizona being the only team left. I'll pick. I haven't picked Arizona yet. I know that Cardinals fans probably will wish I still would because they've been winning. But I think that at this point in the season, I think the Cardinals are better than the 49ers. So I'm picking the Cardinals. It'll be close, but I'm picking the Cardinals.
Christine?
Like Lakeena said, it's going to be a close game. Again, this is a toss-up for me. Oh, boy. And just I want to pick the 49ers for that Illinois boy, Jimmy G. I think I'm going to go with Arizona for this one just because of he is dealing with some injuries right now. So that could be an unknown situation.
I'm going with Arizona. They can run the ball well. Kyler Murray, he's playing at an MVP type level. San Francisco's defense, we talked about Lakeena in our last segment, their defense has not been a problem. It's been starting hot on the offensive side. So Trey Lance, he's going to do some good things, but it's not going to be enough. So I'm going with Arizona at home.
Should be a folder between these two. Should be an interesting one here in the NFC East, I should say. You got the Giants and the Cowboys. Sid, you start.
Joe Buck and Troy Aikman will entertain you for the next 3.5 hours on Sunday. So that's going to be entertaining within itself.
Hey,
you one of those haters, Christina, on Joe Buck or Troy Aikman?
Oh, it's Joe Buck for sure. I know the guy's a Hall of Famer, but my gosh, there's only so much I can take of him.
Hey, and going back to baseball for a second, should the White Sox beat the Astros in this series, you'll get Joe Buck for the ALCS and in the World Series. So, you Sox fans, you think you were hard on Adam Amin? Yeah, you think you were hard on Adam Amin? Shout out to Adam Amin, who's doing this series for FS1. But if you think you were hard on Adam Amin yesterday, wait till Sox Twitter blast Joe Buck. But that's a whole nother issue for a whole nother show. But going back to this game between the Giants and Cowboys, Dallas, they held on to a win against Carolina last week. Looks like Ezekiel Elliott is back. Dak is back. I've been telling people all season he's playing some of the best ball of his career. Shout out to Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. The Giants got lucky last week. The Saints gave them a give on the road in overtime. Daniel Jones, I don't trust him. I think Saquon Barkley's going to do some nice things. He'll put up some decent stats, but I got the Cowboys in this one. This is a no-brainer for me. I don't trust the Giants.
Christine?
I will. Yeah, sorry. There's a weird delay on my end, so my fault. So I will go with Dallas. Dak is back. Elliott's back. I was talking to a coworker about this the other day. I have never seen an athlete come back the way Dak Prescott has, because we all know with those horrible ACL knee injuries, no one is ever the same after that. Going to basketball, look at Derrick Rose. He was never the same after his multiple knee injuries. And you could say that for other players too. Zach Miller from the Bears, when he had that horrific knee injury, he could have lost his entire leg. So the fact that Dak is playing the way that he is at 28 years old after a gruesome injury like that, holy cow. Like he's back. So it's Dallas all the way.
I'm gonna keep it short. Dallas, like I don't trust the Giants. Nah, just gonna keep it. Okay, the Sunday nighter here should be a good one. You got the Bills and the Chiefs. We were previewing this game before you came on, Christine. I want to pick the Bills. I mean, the Chiefs, their defense, they're still, Frank Clark's still out, and I know they got Josh Gordon, but it's going to be a week or two before we see him. And I think the Bills want to prove to people that they are the class of the AFC right now because the Chiefs have had their struggles. So I think Josh Allen has a big game because of the defense, Chiefs defense not being good. I think the Bills defense have their best game of the season. So I'm picking the Bills. Christine?
Yeah, I love the Bills for this one too. It's going to be a close game. But fortunately, Kansas City, they are not living up to their normal expectations. Why? Who knows? Maybe fall apart. Maybe there's something going on behind the locker room that we don't know about. But either way, this is going to be a great game. This could be a future game for the playoffs. So with the Bills for this one, they are great, absolutely fantastic.
I'll be the sore thumb in the room, the Luis Roberts sore thumb in the room. I'm going with Kansas City. I'm going with Kansas City. They're at home. I agree with you guys. It's going to be a close game. I know the Bills have a chip on their shoulder from them losing at the same place in last year's AFC title game. Even though as a fan I'm cheering for Buffalo, I think Kansas City they'll just have enough offensively to pull it out. I expect Pat Mahomes to do Pat Mahomes things. Tyreek Hill, he's going to have a touchdown in this game as well. So I'm going with Kansas City at home in prime time.
This will be a classic one for sure on NBC. Now let's go to the Monday Nighter real quick. You got the Colts and the Ravens. I'll start. I know the Colts got their first win of the season. The Ravens, though, I think it looks like they're kind of like starting to, find their groove and get it going. So, their new players, they step up from all the injuries that they have had. So I'm picking the Ravens. It'll be close. I know I've been taunting the Colts defense for the last couple of years, but they just, they've had a lot of injuries too on the Colts. So I'm picking the Ravens because they're at home as well. Sid?
Baltimore for me.
Same. Keeping it short and sweet with the Ravens.
All right. So should be a good one here with this Bears game against Vegas. I know a lot of people from Chicago. I know folks who are from Chicago probably are going to be in Las Vegas for this game. It should be a good one. Justin Fields now is the starter going forward. I think they made Matt Nagy do that, but again, that's another another topic there. But it'll be close. You got the CBS number 2 team with the Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn there. So that's gonna be good when those 3 are gonna be there. But you know what? I think because they're at home, and I think Khalil Mack is still struggling there. We has a rib and a foot, so he's at 100%. I'm going to pick the Raiders, just because I kind of feel like the Raiders are just a little bit better than the Bears, although I think Justin Fields has a really solid showing.
I'm going with the Raiders on this one, Lakeena. Even if the Bears were totally healthy, the Raiders are at home. I think they run the ball better, a little bit better than the Bears. Of course, David Montgomery's injury will hinder this team going forward. I think Damian Williams will do a nice job, but he's not. He's not David Montgomery. Justin Fields. Do I trust Bears offensive coordinator Bill Lazor to do the same thing against a Raiders defense, which is not great, but they're a step above the Detroit Lions? I don't know if the Bears will have enough to hang in there for 4 quarters, so I'm going with the Raiders.
Christine? I think I think we're having some technical issues with her microphone, with her keyboard, I mean. But yeah, so it should be, yeah, I mean, this should be a fun and interesting game regardless. So like I said, I think Justin Fields has a solid showing, but like you said, I think the Raiders will run. I think Josh Jacobs, I don't trust that front seven for the Bears, so it should be, it should be an interesting game. But I think the Raiders will pull away. Like I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like the Raiders will do the same thing as well. So those are for our week 5 picks from the National Football League. Hopefully, Christine will give us her pick for the Bears game. I'm not going to pick for her, so she's a smart young lady. So she'll pick the winner herself.
She'll probably text it. Yeah, but she'll probably text us her picks. It will let you guys know. So
yeah, so. Quick update from Houston. The Astros scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 2nd inning. We're going to the top of the 3rd. The Astros lead the White Sox 2-1 in Game 2 of the best of 5 series. Astros lead that series 1-2. Now, of course, the White Sox are trying to even up their series, and we'll see what happens for the rest of the day in Game 2. They'll do it for the Friday edition, #Football Friday, right here on Sports Zone Chicago, Second City Sports. Sid, Lakeena, and Christine Manika here with you. The show is coming to a close. We'd like to thank you guys for tuning in and watching us today. We'd like to thank our other guest, Miss Crystal O'Keefe from Southside Sox. You can follow her on all social media platforms and make sure you read her articles at Southside Sox.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She picked the Raiders, Christine, and she just messaged us. So messaged me. So yeah. So she is picking the Raiders. She apologized for the technical difficulties, but hopefully she'll have we'll have better connections next week. Should be exciting. Should be an exciting game regardless. I'm looking forward to the college, of course, the MLB playoffs. The divisional series going also to the college football, of course, the NFL. So a lot of great games. Also, congrats to this guy going to the WMA finals. I give them a shout out.
Yeah, Candace Parker, especially. Yes, hometown girl.
Yeah, hopefully, maybe she can get that hometown championship. That's one of the reasons why she came. So it'll be between Phoenix and Las Vegas. They actually play tonight. That's a Game 5. So they'll be playing one of them for the WMA finals, which will start next week. So make sure you guys check that out. All right, you can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. You can follow me on the Twitter during the White Sox playoffs. Of course, hopefully they'll win this game today in Game 2 to even up the best of 5 series. As of right now, at the top of the 3rd inning, they have a runner on. Tim Anderson just scored. Not scored, but he reached with a infield single.
Yeah.
Download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps, whether it's the Apple iTunes Store or the Google Play Store. Make sure the app says Sports Zone Chicago. You watch any of our 6 live shows live, or if you missed any of them, you can watch the replay of our shows, and so you can do that as well. Also on Sports Zone Chicago, you can follow us on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Sports Zone Chicago. And if you want to catch the audio version of this podcast, you can do so at War on Anchor. That's WARR on Anchor. We're available on all podcast platforms. Make sure you follow War Media at WAR Media on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Once again, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at War Media. And what else? Warren Media. You can listen to the audio version. Anyway, Christine is back with us right quick. Can we still hear Christine?
Can we still
or not?
We still can't hear Christine. There's all right, she's not muted, so I don't know. I think there might be some issues with the technology.
Can you
she has
hear me?
Now there we
Yeah,
are.
we got
okay.
you now. We got you now.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Tell us why you picked the Raiders. Still there.
Okay.
Yeah, the feet. Yeah, the feet.
Yeah,
the feet. I don't know if it's the feet on her end. I think it's still
Why
a little
did I
bit.
pick the Raiders? Well, I am being realistic just because it's pretty remarkable that Justin Fields is now a starter.
Okay. We're still having some. We're still having issues with Christina's feed. So, so enjoy the sports, everybody. For Sid, I'm Lakeena. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. And look, if you guys be safe, be good to each other. Wash your hands if you're not gonna. Also, wear a mask if you're not gonna get vaccinated. No judgment here. So, and that's it. So enjoy the games, everybody. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you next week.
We'll see you Monday at noon Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Until then, go Sox. Holla!